Hello everyone, Rob Guest from football.london here, and welcome to the latest episode of Gold and Guest Tottenham, sponsored by NordVPN. Tottenham are Europa League winners following a 1-0 win over Manchester United on Wednesday evening at San Mamés Stadium in Bilbao. I'm joined by two very happy Tottenham fans, Alasdair Gold and Lee Wilmot. Not a bad night.
Oh, it was incredible. Honestly, it's just everything you kind of hoped it would be as a Spurs fan. As a Spurs fan and a reporter, it was just like the best combo. I don't think I've ever been as happy working till 5 in the morning. I genuinely don't think I've ever enjoyed a shift of work so much. Incredible night and so much for us to dive into. I've spent most of my time since trying to find out these little moments that happened that I didn't see at the time. I think something we'll remember forever.
Yourself, Lee? Good night at home watching it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I've had to put a different shirt on because I think the white one is a little bit sweaty. I might still be drunk. I don't know.
Are you full kit Wilmot today?
No, I'm still not full kit Wilmot. I have jeans on again. I had a phone call from a friend of mine after the game last night and laughing at me and saying the full kit paid off. So yeah, he watches the pod. Incredible. I still can't believe it. It's just we don't get to celebrate these things very often, do we? So I had a great night with one of my sons. I was disappointed one of my other sons decided to go around his friends and watch it rather than staying with me. So missed out on that. But yeah, me and my eldest son had an incredible night at home. It wasn't the greatest final, but we won, so no one cares a jot, do they?
That's all that matters. Before we get going talking about the match, I think it is worth noting that next year's Champions League final is in Budapest, May 30th. If anyone wants to get a head start and book those hotels and flights now to save on the price. But in terms of last night, we made our team selections before the game, and Wilma was right. Pat Matasar. It was Son who missed out. Bit of a surprise, to be honest. I think we'd assumed Son would be in there as the Spurs captain, proved his fitness over the past two games, but he came on in the last 20 minutes, helped Tottenham get over the line, but it proved to be the right decision on the night. Pat Matasar crucial to Brennan Johnson's goal just before half-time.
Yeah, it's fair play to Lee for getting in touch with Ange and making sure he did push through that formation and team. They were superb, honestly. It's I think it was it Chris Sutton I was told this morning said it wasn't Ange Ball, it was Ange Wall. And I think that's so perfect. I love that expression. It was. They just, in this Europa League run, have done everything. All this, there's no plan B. This was the biggest plan B I think we've ever seen from a manager. This whole competition, their away performances have been something completely different. And they've worked pretty much every time. And we saw that again last night on the biggest stage of all. And we've seen this before from Pat Matasar. He stepped up. He really did. He was just like an Energizer bunny. He didn't stop. United could not settle for a single moment. He was incredible for me. And I actually felt your mate Richie as well. I felt having him out there kind of on the left, again, a constant pain in the backside for United. And I think he caused them so many issues and defensively was so disciplined. And it wasn't the greatest final in the world. And as Guest said, and you said, Lee, who cares? It's so funny to be in this situation, especially, to report on it as well. Everything feels so different today. It really does. Everything that kind of, all these words we've heard before, the Spursy, Dr. Tottenham, lads, it's Tottenham. All of that all means something different now. It can't be used as something a stick to beat Spurs with. Lads, it's Tottenham means trophy winners. And it's all because they did exactly what was required on the biggest stage. It's quite funny, the two different press conferences after Drew and Amrim, the old cliche, we were the better team. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, mate. It doesn't matter. And I'm genuinely not even entirely sure they were. I think the Spurs just defended really well. Kept them out, came with a game plan, had no creative midfielders whatsoever, and they absolutely did their game plan to the letter, whereas United didn't really look like they were ever going to get through. So I'm not sure you can be the better team if you can't score a goal.
The stats will say that they had more possession, more passes, and more shots, but they didn't really do a lot with that when they had it. And I was just going to say the one real moment of quality in the match was decisive, because that little run from Bentancur, picked out by Richarlison, then recycled back to Sarr, and then the ball into the box when Brennan Johnson doing what Brennan Johnson does, getting inside one man and outside another to score. Although I still don't understand how UEFA have given him the goal, really. Looking it back I must have watched it about 12 times. But yeah, that was the one moment of quality in the match, really. There wasn't much else from Spurs. There wasn't much from Man United in quality-wise in the match, and that was the decisive moment.
Yeah, I mean, after Spurs going 1-0 ahead, I think I was always confident that they'd see out the game, just because of how the previous games in the Cup had panned out, away at Eintracht Frankfurt and Bodo Glimt as well. And United did have a lot of ball in the second half. They're always gone to push for that equaliser, but I don't even think Guillermo Vicario was really troubled on the night. A couple of good saves, but it was not like he was ever at full stretch and really needed, to help Tottenham get over the line. But
couple of heart and mouth moments from Vicario as well, though.
He did.
100%. I mean, that goal line clearance from Mickey van der Ven was absolutely incredible. He took a real whack as well, landing on the floor.
I asked him about that in the press conference. He had a little separate press conference after Mickey van der Ven, which will be going out this morning, some of the stuff and that. I said to him, Mickey, just talk us through the acrobatic goal line clearance you did. And also, it looked like it really hurt. And he said, let me tell you, that was painful. I think the area behind the goal line is actually really hard grass. I don't think it was like normal kind of grass or something. The surface was hard. And he said he absolutely smashed down on his back. But as we were saying about being knackered and stuff like that, and him with the pain of doing a moment like that, he said it was absolutely worth it. He'd do it again 1,000 times. So, that was incredible. Vicario was a bit shaky early on, which worried me. But he actually redeemed himself with save from Shaw, save from Garnacho. He came up in big moments when Spurs needed him at the end.
Yeah, definitely. Van der Ven, that's just the definition of putting, your body on the line for the club. And that's why Ange has rested him in the previous two games, kept him on ice rather than playing him against Palace or Villa and risking an injury. He's that important to Tottenham, and that was clear last night. And same goes for Christian Romero, who came away with the Man of the Match award. And to be honest, you could have picked anyone last night. To a man, Spurs were brilliant, really, really good across the park. And Romero was fantastic, had a bit of an ongoing battle with Harry Maguire, kept going after the full-time whistle as well. But they defended so well. And like I said, we've seen it in Europe this season. Might not be the case in the Premier League. But in Europe, they've just totally nullified teams. And as I said, I was just always confident that once they went one goal ahead, that'd be it. They'd win.
You know when you've got Romero in the team, I'm not going to swear, but when you've got a something house in your team, and it just, you're 1-0 up in the second half, and all United want to do is kind of take control and get a bit of momentum going. And when you've got someone like Romero in your team, Richarlison to an extent as well can be a bit like that. But it was biting back at Maguire every single time, breaking up play, not letting Man United get into their rhythm. It wasn't pretty, but it was great to see, because it didn't allow Man United a foothold in the game at all. Romero was just outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, that has been a bit of a ongoing battle between those two for like 3 years now, because can you remember Romero shouting in Maguire's face after Tottenham had equalised at Old Trafford, and then Cristiano Ronaldo went and scored the winner there. So there's been certainly no love lost between the two, but I'm sure we'll see those two clashing again if Romero is to stay at Tottenham.
Honestly, that for me, that's the Romero that Messi talks about. That's the Romero that is a World Cup winner, two-time Copa America winner. I know we don't always get to see that Romero, but that was world class. Honestly, he was just incredible for me last night, and just so composed. It was the calmest form of aggression I've ever seen in my life, because every time he did something, he did it very methodically and focused and for the moment. And every time Maguire tried to wind him up and bait him, he was just like, no, you're all right, mate. You wind yourself up, kind of thing. It was just, he was remarkable. Everything that came into the box, he swatted away. And even there was that little after the final whistle moment, wasn't there, between him and Maguire? And it was like, I've kind of watched it a million times. Obviously, we're so far away, we can't tell entirely, but it kind of almost looked like he goes over to Maguire to just, as you know, game's finished, here's that. I'm sure there's a little part of the Romero knowing that Maguire would nibble as well. But even in that moment, after it, he's still completely in control. He like allows himself to be pushed, doesn't even push back and stuff like that. And that just summed up the discipline from him on the night. And I think when Romero's like that, that feeds across the entire back line. I thought Mickey was brilliant alongside him. I thought Porro was fantastic. Udogie, for me, it was a very similar performance to the one against Saka at Arsenal last season, where up against Diallo, he kind of struggled early on, but he learned as the game wore on. You could see him growing as the match wore on, and he ended up giving all the problems to United in the other direction. He was just flying up there and gutted that Solanke was just too knackered to control his pass across when they broke up there together. All of them are brilliant. Bentancur, Bissouma came in. Ange told Bissouma he was going to have a big end to the season and be crucial, and he was brilliant. I can tell you very quickly, if you haven't seen on social media, my little Bissouma moment after the final whistle. We're in the mix zone, waiting for various players to come out. Sonny was talking. Actually, it was while Sonny was talking, when he suddenly heard this commotion coming from the dressing room door, and I turned around and saw and captured it on film. Yves Bissouma walking out of the dressing room, medal around his neck, trousers almost by his knees, bare-chested, his pants on display, boombox that he's carrying, just dancing through past the mix zone and out to the coach. It was just one of the most Yves Bissouma moments you could possibly see.
Was he not carrying the trophy as well?
No, he didn't have the trophy. Just the medal and a boombox. And
it was almost as though no one could get the trophy off him last night. He wanted the trophy every single time it was around.
And why not? Honestly, that coach back to their hotel on their flight this morning, I think it was, that must have been incredible. the mood that they left that stadium in, that must have carried on long into night. Actually, I saw early this morning when I woke up, I think Romero was doing a live video very briefly on Instagram with Bentancur. It's like they were still there with their medals around their necks early this morning. Brilliant. Just loved it all. Some great performances.
Fair play to Yves Bissouma as well, because rewind a month ago, we wouldn't have Bissouma in the team for the Europa League semi-final, never mind the final, because he'd been coming in, not doing enough in his game time, coming off after 45 minutes, and just thinking he's no chance. But credit to him, he's had to come in when called upon, and he's delivered big performances for Tottenham, with last night right up there. Fantastic in midfield. With Rodrigo, Bentancur, they played a massive part in that game. And yeah, you can't blame him for not wanting to let go of the trophy.
He was just there all the time. I was watching it, and just like whenever anyone took it off him, he's like, "Right, I'll have it back now. You finished with it." But yeah, one kind of as soon as you mentioned his name there, Ali, kind of little tingle went up my spine, because I thought he was incredible last night. And as you've kind of said it there, Guesty, that a month ago, 2 months ago, we probably had conversations on desk away from the pod, and like, does he have a future at Spurs? Is he going to be one of the ones that Spurs can potentially make some money on this year to kind of fund new signings? And now you look at him and think, oh, you don't want to let him go. The performance he's been putting in, he's more than kind of shown that he is worth a place in the squad next season.
Yeah, I think the future for everyone. So many futures now that might have changed. It's fascinating. There's a lot of players there. Romero, Bissouma, Sonny. Has he now achieved what he needed to at Spurs? That's one big thing. And of course, a certain Ange Postecoglou, which I'm sure we'll chat about in a moment.
Yeah,
big night.
Before we talk about Ange and whatever else happened in the final, we're going to talk about our sponsors, NordVPN. Were you using them last night at the San Mamés Stadium, Ali?
I was, because the nearest replay monitor was about 4 rows below, and I was squinting to see what was happening. So yes, I used Nord to to get up TNT Sports so that I could watch the English coverage back home and just double check things. Although I still can't work out whether Brennan Johnson got the faintest of touches as he was falling. I don't think he did, but I definitely used Nord to be able to do that and switched my phone to thinking it was back in the UK, which was very, very helpful indeed. And although I didn't use it on this occasion, I do normally use Saley, their brilliant eSIM, which they also have as a fantastic product, which helps you because it's just so much cheaper than using your mobile phone network when your roaming costs abroad, especially when you're heading even further abroad than Europe. It's great, and a fantastic product that I've used definitely in recent years, and people know my Nord experience. I don't have to probably keep saying it because people are very well aware of it. They've kind of become synonymous with Golden Guest Talk Tottenham. We get a lot of people talking about Nord, but with Saley, we've got a special offer on that as well for anyone that might be heading off on their holidays this summer. You can download Saley in the App Store and use our special code, which is Gold Guest at the checkout, to get an exclusive 15% off your first purchase. Or you can go online straight to Saley.com, and Saley is SAILY, so it's Saley.com/Gold Guest. And for more information on all of that, go to our episode description box.
I saw some Tottenham fan tweet you last night, straight after the game, about NordVPN.
Yep.
I've actually got it. It's obviously, congratulations on having NordVPN for this, Ali. I can see that your bandwidth is not throttling. That means we get these updates.
Even in the biggest of moments, we're getting a Nord message, which is funny. It's all part of the show experience. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, let's talk about the goal then. And Brennan Johnson, jolly on the spot once again. We've seen this countless times over the course of the season. Just Brennan just getting into that right position in the box and then finishing. Numerous times we've seen it, and the biggest moment for him came last night in the Europa League final. Going back to November, after Brennan scored the Man City, James Maddison was praising him. I can remember a lot of people saying, he's just getting into those right positions. He's lucky. It's not luck. It is a skill, and he's got it down to an art.
100%. I love the fact that something that Postecoglou has worked with him on over and over and over again in training became the thing that decided a massive final. He doesn't make that run from the back post into the centre of the goal, which it was just huge. I don't think, despite the fact that surely United would have been prepared for it, it was almost like Luke Shaw didn't know he was going to be there. It just is exactly what Spurs do. And yeah, great work from Salah, great work from Bentancur before it, and great work from Johnson to get into that position. And he just almost didn't know how to celebrate. It was like, oh my God, I've just done this in a final kind of thing. I've forced this goal. And it kind of ran off and did a knee slide that kind of stopped suddenly, didn't it? One of those where
the pitch wasn't wet enough.
Exactly. And now a brilliant moment for him. We go back to where he was at early in the season, the issues that he was having with fans online and stuff like that. And that kind of then straight after that, he had the run of goals, and he's going to end Spurs season unless there's a miracle amount of goals in the final game against Brighton as the top scorer. And fair play to him. He'll go down in the history of this club really as one of these names, one of these players that has lifted a trophy for Tottenham, their first European trophy in 41 years. And yeah, all because of a move that has been drilled into him and he's worked so hard to perfect. So yeah, you love kind of a plan coming together, to quote the A-team.
We've seen it so many times, haven't we? Like last season, this season, even right before the fight, you were at the open training. That move of getting the ball across the box and someone coming in late onto it, they train every single day with that move, don't they? It's Ange Postecoglou's way, and it paid off again.
Maybe there was an Ange ball in front of the Ange wall. Yeah, there was.
In attack as well, Richarlison, he started. He put in a huge shift last night. Really impressive performance. Lasted about 65, 70 minutes before he signalled to come off. What were your thoughts then on his performance?
Yeah, he was really good. He just gave everything. Look, technically, sometimes it wasn't quite there. There were some moments when the ball would or an attack would break down at his kind of feet, but everything else he did, the work rate, the word that Lee used about him and Romero earlier, absolutely just ruffled the feathers of the United players. And he won a lot of kind of little headers and flick-ons as well. And he got back to try and help Udogie as much as he could with Diallo. And yeah, it was he deserved that. And it's been a very, very tough season again for him in terms of injuries, availability. I think he probably would have come off anyway, regardless of kind of feeling that injury towards the end. I think there was always going to be Sonny time towards the end. But you kind of did notice, I know United were always going to push on towards the end, but you did notice that Spurs lost a little bit of their outlet, their ability to get out of some of those kind of situations when Richarlison went off. Massive for him. A player who was going to really probably go down as not quite Tongi and Dembele style flop, but certainly a lot of money for someone that hasn't been available a lot for Tottenham. And I think nights like this, just absolutely kind of just a massive kind of thing for him, really, that maybe he felt like the injuries were getting on top of him, getting the better of him in his career. And here he is with a golden medal round his neck, and he's played a big part in Spurs getting that trophy. So I thought he put in a really good performance in that respect.
He lives it and breathes it as well. I guess you'll know from his time at Everton, obviously, but you won't have seen it, Ali, because you might have done, because you say you were using NordVPN to have TNT on your phone. So, but there was a moment where the camera panned to him just towards the end of the match, and he's there, he's right on the pitch like this, like lying down on the pitch, looking at everything that's going on, kind of waiting for the final whistle to go. I love that passion about him, and you're obviously impressed by him, Guesty, given your Everton love.
Yeah, well, I think you saw last night why he's adored at Everton. Just that work rate, non-stop, putting his body on the line. And I think there was an example early in the second half that showed what he's all about. And that was when Ahmad was breaking down the right and Richie's just come in, nicked the ball from him, used his strength and got Spurs upfield. And I thought it was fantastic on and off the ball last night, winning free kicks in good areas, just helping relieve the pressure at times. And I think that was by far his best performance in the Tottenham shirt. And it was just great to see in the celebrations as well. Do you see him in the crowd on the drums?
No, I didn't see him on the drums, actually.
Yeah. There's, I think, a video of him on the drums in the crowd. I think he was another one who just wanted to keep hold of the trophy. And credit to him. It was a big decision from Ange, but he fully repaid him last night with that huge performance. And he did that in the semi-finals as well. I thought he was a key player in helping Tottenham get over the line then. And I think the biggest miracle last night we saw was Richie doing an interview in English on Spurs TV at the end. Full 2-minute interview.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet. I'll have to look at that.
Yeah. Right, moving away, we'll talk about things what happened after the match in the post-match press conference. Ange Postecoglou's future, once again, big talking point. Clear to see he wants to stay at Spurs and keep on doing this job. Yeah,
we wondered what the press conference was going to be like. We wondered, would he do like Louis van Gaal style, bring the trophy and stick it on the table and say, in your face kind of thing? Would he make some kind of like little dig or something? But you know what? It was a really magnanimous press conference. It was a really lovely press conference in a lot of ways. There was a real kind of family aspect to it as well. I'm talking about his family a bit and his dad, who obviously couldn't be with him, but he said he's always there for me, kind of in my head. And he said, even terrifyingly, when I look in the mirror, I'm starting to look like him, so I see him all the time. And it was really nice. And his future stuff was fascinating because he's not going anywhere in his mind in terms of he's not walking away. Absolutely not. He feels that they've just started this now, and this is a massive building block to build from. And you could see he's kept this little quote from Daniel Levy knocking around in the back of his mind for a good 18 months. I think it was maybe at the fans forum when didn't Levy say something along the lines of, we've had a lot of winners at this club, a world-class manager or something, and now we've got Ange. And I don't think he obviously meant it as that sounds. And I'm sure we asked him at the time and he kind of dismissed it, Postecoglou, but it's clearly sat there. And he said that line and he said, but mate, I'm a winner. And he is. the second season trophy winner as well. I love that has come true. That's so brilliant for him. You see Madders and Reguilon holding up the banner with like the thug-like sunglasses kind of thing and all that sort of stuff. And I love that. Even Reggie doing that. Reggie hasn't played for him barely at all. Actually, you could see all the players were so behind him last night. There were so many little moments where, I know you wrote about it, guess who he is. Archie Gray had a nice little moment with him at the final whistle. Lucas Bergvall in the trophy celebrations had his arm draped around Ange. Pedro Porro jumped on his shoulders. Ange gave him a piggyback around the pitch at one point, which was like, who is this man? He was going to try and stay back from the trophy celebrations, but Vicario and Porro kind of dragged him into it to make sure that he didn't not hide away, but I think he was just going to let them have their moment. But he's just as much to do with this victory as they are. But his press conference was very much laying down the foundations of, if you're going to get rid of me, it's on you kind of thing. Que sera were the words he used to kind of sign off from his press conference, which I thought was fittingly Spanish in Bilbao. And it's Spanish, isn't it? Que sera. Yes. I was starting to think whether it was Italian or not. And it's a massive call now because, as I said, today is a very different day to yesterday. Spurs are a different club for what happened over that final whistle. And I think a lot of supporters who are maybe on the fence will be back behind Ange now. He's delivered a night they'll never, ever forget. I think it would be a very, very brutal call now for Spurs to ditch a manager that just won their first European trophy in 41 years. Only 2 other men have done that. I know people will say there's an emotional factor in that, and they'll cite Ten Hag at United. But also, United are used to winning trophies. Spurs are not. He's done something remarkable, Postecoglou, with Tottenham. And I don't know if it's emotional. I think almost he's earned the right now to continue in the role. And I know Lee maybe is not going to kind of agree with that. And certainly there's going to be quite a few fans that won't. But I think it would be a huge decision, Daniel Levy, now to kind of get rid of him and then bring in someone who's an unknown quantity. There's many of these names mentioned out there. You look at them and you think, well, kind of, why do they deserve to come in over someone that's just won Tottenham a European trophy? It's a big, big call. And like I said, it feels like a different club this morning to what it did before that match last night.
It changes things, doesn't it? You win a trophy, and it does change things for a lot of supporters. And what I was going to say is it is a huge call, but it's Daniel Levy. He's not averse to making big decisions like that, is he? It's going to be an interesting few days. Obviously, parade tomorrow, Brighton game on Sunday. And then what happens after that? It's going to be very interesting to see what comes out and what kind of move Daniel Levy makes, whether he kind of backs Ange or he makes that cutthroat decision based on the Premier League form being as atrocious as it was. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. As you're right, Ali, he's given me a night that I've never experienced before, really. League Cup in 1999 was great. I enjoyed that. League Cup in 2008 was a good day, but last night was just incredible. He will go down in Spurs folklore for delivering a trophy. And the meme going around on social media at the minute is brilliant. That starts off with him saying that quote about "I always win something in my second season," and then flips to a picture of Spurs winners in the background with Ange holding his cup of coffee, walking out, and then turning around and looking at it and carrying on walking. If you'll find it on social media somewhere, I'm sure it's brilliant.
I think Decky has shared it on his Instagram story. Just very quickly on Decky, just a little side bit of trivia or information. He couldn't fly, which is why he wasn't there, because he just had his surgery.
He didn't get the ferry, did he, for 36 hours?
No, he didn't. But what he did do, the surgery was in Barcelona, so he travelled by land to make sure that he was at the final, which was great. I saw him they almost dragged him with them, and he was kind of really ropey on his legs. He had the big leg brace on, and I don't know if you noticed as well, Sonny got a massive bash on the head, didn't he? Because when he picked up the trophy, the players rushed forward, so he actually clattered his forehead against the bottom of the trophy. So he's been waiting 10 years to lift the trophy and smacked himself in the head with it. It was brilliant.
Just on Ange, for me, you cannot get rid of him now after that, winning the trophy. it'd be the most ridiculous decision to make. And as I said on the last pod, just because they've struggled this season doesn't mean that'll be the case next season. They could kick on. They could be challenging the top 5, could be pushing top 3. He deserves that opportunity to try and take Tottenham forward now. For me, you just cannot sack him. And if you did, what does that then do for the players in the changing room who quite clearly worship him? And you saw that in the celebrations last night, how close they are, how much they love him. What does that do in the changing room? New manager coming in.
Exactly, and they focused on the Europa League. He's made that very clear. They made a conscious decision after January window. They were going to focus on that competition. So if they can get a bigger, better squad, and he can focus on 2 different competitions at least at once, then it should be a completely different season. But I say completely different season. Spurs won a trophy. It ended up being a great season. It's just mad.
He's shown in the Europa League he can play a different way. As you kind of rightly brought up at the beginning of the pod, there is a plan B. It's worked in the Europa League. So if he gets more players, if he's given the money to bring in a bigger squad, because God knows we need a bigger squad for the Champions League to challenge on both fronts. He was quite clear in saying if we hadn't gone deep in the Carabao Cup, if we hadn't gone deep in the Europa League, we wouldn't be where we are in the Premier League. You, as a big club, you need to be challenging in the Premier League and the Champions League. He needs the resources to do that. So, and if he is capable of showing that plan B in the Premier League as well, then let's see what he can do.
Yeah, right. We're going to have to wrap up here because Ali's going to be needing to check out of his hotel room in about 8 or 9 minutes' time.
They are going to kick me out. They are.
I'm assuming you are going to be just doing what Yves Bissouma did after the final, walking out the room, top off, listening, music blaring.
I'm going to walk through reception in my pants. Celebrating, singing, Can't Smile Without You. Be good.
The more important thing is I'm assuming you're going to do lots more work, even though you've been kicked out of the hotel room.
I am. 4 hours of sleep are not going to stop me writing about that game last night and what it means, definitely.
Right. We'll call it a day now. Ali's got to get going. There's going to be plenty more Tottenham coverage on football.london over the course of the day, over the course of the weekend, as we reflect on last night's Europa League win against Manchester United, and also look ahead to the final day of the season, Brighton and Hove Albion at home on Sunday, where I'm sure there'll be a certain trophy on show and, fingers crossed, a big speech from Ange Postecoglou. In the meantime, thank you for listening, and just keep with us at football.london for all your latest Tottenham news. You can either download Saily in your app store and use our code GOLDGUEST at the checkout to get an exclusive 15% off your first purchase, or online you can go straight to saily.com/goldguest. For more information, please go to our episode description box.